A very good morning to you, Lucy Powell. Thanks for talking to us. So teachers from the National Education Union are walking out again today. It's their 8th strike this year. Do you support them?
Well, look, strike action is a sign of failure. It is incredibly disruptive. It is incredibly damaging as well. I've got children at home today, like many of your viewers will have as well. And I think, as Robert Halfon there pointed out, we all saw the damage of missing education that the COVID pandemic brought to our young people and children, which is why we are calling for the government to really redouble their efforts in their negotiations. They're hardly even at the table in this conversation. They're not engaging with it, and they need to get back round the table and try and find a resolution to this. And I think withholding the pay review, the independent pay review body report, and not publishing that, not letting anybody see that, I think withholding that is actually damaging the government's cause here, because of course teachers are going to want to hold out to see what that recommendation is before they consider their future plans as well.
Well, the government, Robert Halfon told me that there were ongoing talks. They say that their offer is reasonable and fair. They're offering teachers an average of 4.5%. So how much do you think teachers should be paid?
Well, talks obviously aren't ongoing because the government has said they've made an offer. The teaching unions have said they reject that offer. And we are now at an impasse, and we've now got teaching unions, a much broader range of teaching unions, including the head teachers unions. This would be very unprecedented, now all balloting for further action into the next academic year. So talks are not ongoing, and they're certainly not meaningful. There are now
how much
entrenched
should
positions.
Sorry to interrupt, Lucy Powell, but just how much should teachers be paid? Should they be paid more than this offer that's on the table, 4.5%?
Well, they need a negotiated settlement, and that's
roughly,
what the government should be
where
doing.
should that lie, though? Should it be above 4.5%?
Well, that's not. Well, teaching unions have rejected that pay offer, haven't they? So anything below that's obviously not going to bring a resolution to this. But we're not the people with any of the power, any of the skin in the game in this from the Labour Party. This is something that has to be negotiated between the government, who pay the bills and who pay the wages, and the teaching unions, who are striving for a better settlement for their workers. It has to be a negotiation between those two. I don't sit here with any power over that whatsoever, and I don't have all the figures and all the different moving parts to that in front of me. So it wouldn't be appropriate or right for me to do that. But what I do know is that a Labour government would be an active partner in this conversation and would seek to resolve these industrial disputes, so that we're not seeing the kind of damage that we're seeing to our young people who've only just coming out of that period of the pandemic, where they all suffered a great loss of education during that time. It's our children that are paying the price for this, not government ministers and others. And they need to put the interests of children first and try and find a resolution.
The London Mayor, Labour Sadiq Khan, is expanding London's ultra-low emission zone, the ULEZ zone. It's going to be 3 times bigger from the end of August. Do you back that?
Well, look, I'm a Manchester MP. These matters are very much devolved. There is a legal duty on the Mayor of London and other mayors, like the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, who has been looking at these issues up here in Manchester as well. They have a legal duty put upon them by the government to clean the air quality in their local areas. And the government's own proposals about how to do that said that mayors should look at these kind of schemes, these ultra low, or they have different names in different parts of the country, schemes. So, Sadiq has to take action, and how he goes about that and how that's operationalised and how that's dealt with, really is a matter for him as the Mayor of London and for Londoners as a whole. And somebody who doesn't represent London, I don't think that would be helpful for me to get involved in that.
So I'm asking because Labour's candidate in Uxbridge, where there's due to be a by-election, Danny Beales, says he wants the expansion halted. Sadiq Khan wants it to go ahead. I'm just interested to know what Labour's position is on this zone.
Well, look, as I said, I think I've made that quite clear. There is a legal duty for mayors to tackle these issues. Obviously, local MPs, local candidates will do their job of representing their own area and their constituents. You know, what I do think is important for everyone to remember is this is a legal duty that's been put on the Mayor of London by the government. It's been passed over to him to do. The government themselves have said that one of the ways that mayors have to do this is to look at these clean air zones. But what they then haven't done is provide enough of the resources, enough of the capacity within the system to enable people affected to transition to more clean and effective and electric, in many cases, vehicles. And that's something that the Labour Party nationally, where we are responsible for these issues, where we have got really ambitious plans to make our country a clean energy superpower. And that involves transitioning to full electric. That means transitioning our vehicles. That also means transitioning our manufacture and our infrastructure so there are charging points, so that we have the gigafactories that can supply electric vehicles, because it's not just a cost issue for people to buy a new vehicle, they're just not available.
Lucy Powell, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks very much indeed for talking to us.
Thank you.